Ladies and gentlemen, this is an article that came out in the Washington Post, April 10th, 2018. Study: Despite decline in prescriptions, opioid deaths skyrocketing due to heroin and synthetic drugs. And they're talking about synthetic fentanyl. Okay, so this is a Philadelphia heroin addict, and Pennsylvania has had a horrible time trying to get their state under control with all of the drug addiction and deaths that are going on. Fatalities from heroin and black market synthetic opioids skyrocketed, while the nation saw a decline in the number of opioid painkiller prescriptions and the overdose deaths attributed to them, according to a study. Well, see, it's counterproductive to write less prescription, and all these people have to do is go on the internet or go to the streets for the illegal drugs. You know, I don't know why they think they're really doing something by cutting on these scripts. And then in the meantime, when they can't get a script, they'll just run out to the streets for the heroin. The research from the American Action Forum shows that as authorities crack down on overprescribing of powerful painkillers, international cartels fill the void with cheap heroin and powerful synthetic opioids, such as fentanyl. The number of opioids prescribed nationwide sharply dropped in 2010, as did the death rate from prescription opioid overdoses. The annual growth rate of deaths involving prescription opioids slowed from 13.4% before 2010 to 4.8% after. This came after authorities went after pill mills and rogue doctors. States began implementing prescription drug monitoring programs, and Purdue Pharma released a reformulated version of the painkiller OxyContin that was more difficult to crush and thus more difficult to abuse, though some users found ways around it. That's what I don't get. Purdue Pharma caused this problem in the first place. And you're going to go to the same people that caused the problem for a solution. And you want to know why this plague is going nowhere. I don't get it. I guess that's the high IQ thinking that I just can't figure out. Moving on. Deaths involving heroin and fentanyl sharply spiked in the years after. The annual growth rate of heroin deaths surged from 4.1% before 2010 and to 31.2% after. That is a big, from 4.1% to 31.2%. Wow, that is a huge jump. That's huge. The growth rate of death and fentanyl use went from 13.7% to 36.5%. Illicit opioids are filling this void of unmet demand. Ben Grittis, who co-authored the study with intern Isabel Soto. Grittis said many people became dependent on prescription opioids, and when the narcotics became more difficult to obtain, people turned to whatever alternative they could find. Cartels saw that market and filled it rapidly. While restrictions on prescription opioids appear to have shown growth in overdose fatality involving those substances, the total number of opioid-involved overdose fatalities has accelerated due to staggering growth in overdose deaths involving heroin and synthetic opioids. Okay. So more than 42,000 people died from opioid-related overdoses in 2016, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The increase in deaths from synthetic opioids such as fentanyl has been staggering. From 2013 to 2016, the number of drug deaths involving the substances grew 84.2% each year. That is crazy, according to analysis of CDC data. That is outrageous. Wow. Part of the reason for the surge in deaths is many users do not know exactly what drugs they are buying and using. In some cases, they are inadvertently ingesting lethal amounts of synthetic opioids, which include fentanyl and carfentanil, an animal tranquilizer that has killed scores of people. I don't understand. Why would you want to take something that's meant for a rhino or an elephant, a massive size animal, and you want to take it? Okay. The synthetic drugs also are proving to be resistant to overdose reversing substances such as Narcan. That's right. So the more powerful the overdose is, the less likely the Narcan is to work. Or if it does work, you got to give them multiple doses over and over before you bring them around. And in many cases, you just can't. Gritters said the study shows that while policymakers need to address the flow of illicit opioids, they must do so while tackling the root problem of addiction. Say policymakers were to start turning more attention to the supply of illicit opioids, heroin, and synthetic opioids, which is obviously something that needs to happen, Gritters said. Doing that without addressing dependency could turn users to other types of drugs to use in their addiction, he added. Really, the root cause is the dependency itself, and that dependency is in the user, right? But they are trying their best to keep a hands-off approach when it comes down to the user, but punish everybody else. I'm telling you, it's never going to work. Never going to work. But you can't tell the high IQ ones that. The opioid plague has had a profound effect on the nation's economy. In previous study, Gritters and Soto found that nearly 1 million people were not working because of opioid dependency in 2015. The loss of employees and their productivity from 1999 to 2015 cost the U.S. economy $702 billion, or just less than 44 billion per year. That's a lot of money to be lost in the economy. Okay. Employers also have reported that they are unable to fill jobs because people cannot pass drug tests. And I've done multiple videos on that. Multiple. And that is still the case now. They cannot find applicants that can pass a drug test. And it just go to show you how many people out here are abusing drugs at this point in time. You know, it's a lot of people out here abusing drugs, a lot more than they're willing to admit. Hundreds of municipalities around the country are now suing pharmaceutical manufacturers, distributors, and other ups and downs in the supply chain, claiming they knowingly peddled an addictive product that led to the deaths and dependency. I still say, how the hell did you not know that, being that opium is in opioids, and this country went through an opium addiction more than 100 years ago? And you took the same exact thing that caused the addiction and put it in these opioids out here today. How could you not know? it was addictive when you already have history that shows you it is. But again, that's the high IQ for you, ladies and gentlemen. Please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I will see you on the next video. And if you can support my channel, please do. Peace, family.